Okay, hey 7th grade. I hope you're doing well, having a good day and a good week. Last week was our first week of doing everything online, and you guys did absolutely excellent. I know it can be frustrating trying to scan and take pictures of all the assignments, but you guys did wonderful, so I'm very proud of that. I'm also so proud of you guys for continuing to work and try your best in all of this. I know the majority of us would like to be back in school, but you guys really are making the best of it and just putting in the effort that I know you guys can. So thank you for that. Okay, so this week you are reading Dump and How Things Work. You're going to watch this, you're going to read these poems first, and then you're going to watch the video. So if you haven't read them, pause, then come back when you're done reading them. Then after you read and watch the video, we're going to go through the questions number 1 through 7 on page 248. Then after that, we'll go through the test questions. And then your next assignment is to do your spelling book, chapter 22. And last but not least, your fourth assignment is to read your AR books. Your April points aren't due until May 8th. A couple of you actually already have your points, so congratulations, way to be on top of it. And with that, I think we will just go ahead and jump in. So, the background. Writers and poets alike often use their writing to make statements about important topics like consumerism. Consumerism is the idea of buying things over and over again, basically how you spend your money. X.J. Kennedy and Gary Soto each examine our consumer society in their respective poems, Dump and How Things Work. So I'll let you read this and the poems. I'm not going to read them to you because you're 7th graders. You can read on your own. I've heard all of you read. So Dump and How Things Work. Both of these poets right here are wonderful poets. They do a nice job. I guarantee this won't be the last time that you read poems from them. All right, so I'm going to quickly go over kind of different aspects of the poems, and then we'll jump into the questions because the questions help us get into more detail about the poems for sure. So Dump is a short poem. I think it was a good one. It talks about how we buy things and then we throw them away in the city dump. And then we realize that it's empty now. We threw this thing away that was on the shelf and now it's empty, so we go buy another thing and eventually that gets thrown away. So it's just kind of a never-ending cycle of back and forth. But this one is definitely more negative, a more negative tone than the next one, I would say. All right, and then How Things Work is a little bit more positive. I mean, it's not happy or joyful, and 100%, that's for sure, but it's a little bit more positive than the first one. So here, a guy is talking to his daughter about how we spend money and then someone else gets it. And then that person spends money and someone else gets it. So if you look down here in these two lines, if we buy a goldfish, someone tries on a hat. If we buy crayons, someone walks home with a broom. So basically that's saying if we buy a goldfish from someone, that someone's going to take that money and buy a hat from someone. And that someone's going to take that money and buy something else from someone. And it just keeps going and going and going. So yeah, that was that poem. They were both really good, I thought. Okay, now on to the questions. So go ahead and pull out a piece of paper. I'm going to go through these. I might give you a few answers. I'm going to kind of talk through them. I'll try to point you in the right direction. But as we're going through these, and if I talk about number 1 and you want to write down your answer before we move on to number 2, just the beauty about this YouTube online teaching is that you have the ability to pause your teacher. So if I get done talking about number 1 and you want to write it down, pause it. Then when you're done, play and just keep going through the answers. Okay, so number 1, what is the theme of Dump? So remember, the theme is the overall message, the overall idea of the poem. So I think the theme is that value people put on material things that we buy only lasts for a short amount of time, and then we get bored and then we throw them away. That's what I got from Dump. You might have got something different. Sometimes poems and stories have more than one theme, as we know from our other stories we've read. Okay, number 2, what is the theme of How Things Work? So this one, the theme, I think it's sort of sad that money makes things work. It makes things go in a circle, right? Without money, a lot of things couldn't happen, which is kind of sad. So that's the theme that I took away from it. You might have got something different. That's okay. All right, number 3. I will remind you, when you are writing the answers to these questions, make sure you write in complete sentence, as we've been doing since August. All of you know how to write in complete sentence, so I still expect that on your papers when you scan them in. Okay, number 3. In what ways do the poems Dump and How Things Work seem most alike? Well, obviously they're talking about the same concept, right? They're talking about taking things, buying them, and then kind of throwing them away or, rebuying stuff. So they're both talking about the same thing. They're talking about how this buying and owning things are such an important parts of our life. Those are the 2 main things that I took away. You might have got something else, so go ahead and jot that down too. All right, number 4. Reread lines 14 through 15 of How Things Work. In what way is the tone similar to the tone in Dump? So the tone that I got out of these was kind of ironic almost, and I'll explain why. So the tone in both poems is ironic because I think in Dump, the speaker seems almost disgusted by the junk that's at the dump, but yet he knows he's going to buy something and then it's going to end up in the dump. So that's where I get the irony in the Dump. And then the irony in How Things Work, I see it as the speaker's almost saying the opposite of what he means. So that's kind of a little bit ironic. That's the tone that I got, so that will help you out on number 4. Sorry if I'm going too fast. Remember, pause if you need to. Number 5, reread the last 2 lines of each poem. How are the speaker's statements alike, and what message or theme do they leave the reader with? Okay, so go back and look through these last 2 lines if you need to. Basically, they're both summing up the overall poem. The last 2 lines of Dump tell that people dislike the feeling of emptiness, but when they have fewer things, they're gonna buy more things and then they're gonna put them in the dump, right? And in How Things Work, it conveys kind of a similar message of our lives have become an endless cycle of acquiring things and then getting rid of them, right? Now it's just more, How Things Work is more about money than it is about material things, but it's just a never-ending cycle. So that's kind of the message that I got from both of those. Okay, number 6, why might the poet have chosen regular meter and rhyme to express the ideas in Dump? Why might the poet have chosen free verse for How Things Work? So Dump is kind of a negative poem, right? We already discussed that. We get some negative feelings around it, but when you add that rhyme and meter, doesn't that kind of, bring things up, make things more positive? So that's kind of, it creates more of a contrast, I would say. So those are my thoughts on Dump. Gives you a couple good hints. Why might the poet have chosen free verse for How Things Work? So remember How Things Work, this guy is talking to his daughter, so he's trying to convey that conversational tone. Now, if we have a rhyme in a poem, is that gonna really make us think that, oh, he's talking to someone? Probably not. And number 7, this one's pretty fun, I think. Reread lines 1 through 8 of Dump. How might these ideas be expressed in language that in How Things Work? So you're going to take those lines 1 through 8 and change them up so they sound more like the lines in How Things Work. So make them more of that conversational tone. Just try your best on this one. I'm interested to see how you guys will do that. But yeah, that one should be fun. All right, so those are the questions. Let me grab your test. Okay. So I went ahead and wrote kind of some tips, some hints out to the side. So if you need to pause, look at them, you sure can. Remember, this is not a test. So use your book when you're answering these questions. That is completely fine. This is homework. We're allowed to use our book when we're working on homework. Okay, number 1, what does the speaker in Dump mean by discarded hopes in line 9? So Is it A, things that people don't have enough space to store? B, things people bought that disappointed them? C, things that remind people of unpleasant events? Or D, things that people regret having thrown away? So discarded hopes is kind of talking about buying things, then throwing them away. So if we look at that, we can kind of pick out which one of these goes best with that answer, right? Or with this definition. It's definitely not A. Doesn't really talk about not having space to store them. And it's not really talking about D. People don't regret having thrown away things. So you're in between B and C. Just remember, buying things and throwing them away is kind of what discarded hopes is talking about. Okay, number 2, what image is created by the form of dump? A tall pile of things that have been discarded. B, a long journey undertaken by the speaker. C, a dialogue between two people. D, a long list of items the speaker wants. So when you see the word dump, what do you picture? I would think of a city dump, or if you guys have seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and they get all this food that comes down and then they dump it, and there's a huge, I'm going to give you a big hint, there's a huge pile of food, in this case, that they're getting rid of. So what do you picture when you think of city dump? All right, 3, what does the speaker in dump mean by our lightened living room? Okay, A, the room has been emptied of the things that he took to the dump. B, he will be happy to get away from the dump and back to his living room. C, the room will be brighter by the time he gets home. D, the room will seem light in comparison to the clutter at the dump. Now, it's not talking about light and dark. It's talking about light and heavy. So our lightened living room. So when you make something light, we get rid of things, right? So if I want a box to be lighter, I'm going to take a few things out. So if you're taking a few things out of the living room, that's what he's trying to convey in this. So which one of these answers goes best with that? You're taking something out. You're getting rid of things. Okay? It's not talking about light and dark. All right, number 4, which lines in dump contain a metaphor? So remember, a metaphor is a comparison of two things, saying something is something else. Now, I went ahead and crossed out, well, let me read through the answers. A, paintings eternally stale, that hung remained aloof. B, the acrid smell of trash arises like perfume. C, maneuvering steep stairs of bed springs to our car. D, we stumble on home-canned pears grown poisonous in the jar. So I crossed out A, and I kind of helped you guys out a little bit because we seem to struggle with the metaphors and the similes on the last test. So paintings eternally stale, that hung remained aloof. Now that's just explaining something. It's not saying that something is something, it's just explaining it. So I crossed that one out. Then this one, it says arises like perfume. We know that's a simile. A simile uses like or as, so I crossed that one out. Now you're stuck between C and D. Remember, a metaphor compares two things. It's saying something is something, okay? So one of these is more explaining something, and one of them is a metaphor. I'm going to let you pick what you think. All right, number 5. What does the speaker in dump mean by the lines, our emptiness may rankle, but soon it too shall pass? So rankle means to cause annoyance. Just a heads up on that one. A, we will get over our desire to accumulate things. B, we will buy new things to fill up our emptiness. C, we will soon forget all about our experience at the dump. D, we will bring home some of the things from the dump. So I went ahead and crossed out C and D to kind of help you. These ones really don't make any sense. So now you're in between A and B. Now our emptiness may rankle, so our emptiness may cause annoyance, but soon it too shall pass. Now these are the last lines. It's talking about how the emptiness is going to bug us, so we're going to go out and do what? What are we going to do to fill that emptiness? Okay, number 6. The speaker in How Things Work is addressing, now I talked about this, it's in line 10 if you want to go back and look, okay? A, his wife, B, a waitress, C, shoppers, or D, his daughter. Who is he talking to? Number 7, in How Things Work, what is the speaker saying about the things he buys? So this is in lines 16 and 17 if you want to go look. A, he buys things only for other people. B, he doesn't really need the things that he buys. C, each thing he buys helps another person buy something. Or D, the things he buys cost too much. Now remember, this poem is about circulating money. You buy something, someone else buys something with that. So which one of these answers goes best with that? Look in lines 16 and 17 for help if you need it. All right, number 8. Which lines from How Things Work contain a simile? So remember, a simile uses like or as, and it compares two things. So A, the tip I left for the waitress filters down like rain. B, perhaps a belligerent cat that won't let go of a bald sock. C, as far as I can tell, daughter, it works like this. D, tickets to a movie in which laughter is thrown into their faces. So I went ahead and crossed out C because, again, you guys kind of struggled a little bit with these questions on the last test. So you're in between A, B, and D. Remember, look for like or as. Now, it's not going to say, it's not going to explain something. It's going to compare two things, okay? Comparing two things. All right, number 9, what is the effect of the final words, I guess, in How Things Work? A, they show that the speaker has not been serious about what he has said. B, they emphasize what the speaker has said earlier in the poem. C, they contribute to the rhythm of the poem. D, they show that the speaker has doubts about what he said. So when we say, I guess, are we 100% sure, or do we still have some doubts? That's my big hint for number 9. And number 10, in what way are the two poems alike? A, both have regular rhyme scheme. B, both include a listing of items. C, both have 4 stanzas. D, both use a question and answer structure. So we know Dump has a rhyme scheme, but the How Things Work don't. So I went ahead and crossed out A, and I crossed out C too, because if you look at Dump, it has way more than 4 stanzas. So now you're down between B and D. Remember, look and see, are they asking questions and then answering them, or are they listing things? Okay? All right, 11 and 12. 2 sentences, guys. We've been doing 2 sentences since the start of August, so you can still do that. 11, what feelings does X.J. Kennedy convey through his word choice in Dump? So is he proud or is he disappointed? What do you think? 12, which poet has a more positive attitude toward consumption? Support your answer with evidence from the poem. So we talked about this at the beginning. Which one gave you a better positive feeling? Dump or How Things Work? What do you think? 2 sentences on that one. All right. Then once you're done with this, you're going to do your spelling book, chapter 22, pages 122 through 125, just like normal. Then remember, when you're done with your questions, your test questions, and then your spelling book, you're going to either take a picture or scan them and email them to my email. All right. Then after that, don't forget to read your AR books. But I think that's it for the week. I hope you have a great week. Email me with any questions at all, okay? All right, I miss you guys, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.